Hi, welcome back to another Cooking Matters recipe video. I'm Chef Asata, and today we're going to be making a frittata. Frittata is kind of like quiche without the crust. It's not fussy at all, but it is very delicious, and it's quick and packed with protein because it's based on eggs. Eggs are inexpensive, great source of protein, and in this frittata, you can include all manner of vegetables. Today, we're going to have some broccoli, onion, bell pepper, and mushrooms. But you can use whatever you have on hand and whatever's available to you. Seasonally, I like to add fresh greens like Swiss chard or spinach, but you can even use frozen vegetables. These medleys that come in the frozen food section are very convenient for that, as is chopped frozen spinach. So literally you can use whatever you can think of, whatever you like, whatever's on sale, and whatever's available to make your frittatas. All right, let's get started. First thing we're gonna do is cover our mise en place. That's everything you need to make your recipe. We went over the vegetables that we're going to use today. That's our broccoli, onion, pepper, mushrooms. I'm gonna grate some cheddar cheese in there. Now we know cheese typically comes with some fat, so if you're going to use cheese, use big, bold cheeses like sharp cheddar, aged Parmesan, feta cheese. Make sure that when you're adding cheese, you're getting the most bang for your buck, both flavor-wise and price-wise. Of course, we've got our eggs for our frittata, and we're gonna use some fresh parsley today. Fresh herbs are a wonderful way to wake up the flavor of eggs in most of your dishes, honestly. But if you can't find any fresh herbs, maybe you're not growing them, maybe it's off season, a pinch of dried herbs will do wonderful in your frittata. We're gonna make our frittata in a great big old 9 by 11 baking dish. This is gonna feed the whole family. So the first thing I wanna do is prepare that baking pan. So I'm gonna spray some non-stick cooking spray in there and just set it aside. Let's start off with our onion. Just gonna slice off both ends, which gives us a nice flat surface to work with so our onion isn't rolling around all over the place. Slice it in half and then just follow the lines, cutting into the core of the onion. Then slice down and you've got a diced onion. Next I'm going to cut our pepper. So I'm just going to cut one side off. And then once that side is off, it's easy to just use a roll technique to cut the rest of the pepper away from the core. Just roll that pepper out. Bloop. Core comes right out. And we're going to slice this pepper into strips. And then turn those strips 90 degrees and cut down. And you've got a diced pepper. You'll notice that I cut the peppers skin side down. That is a habit that I picked up because the external side or the skin side of the pepper is slippery. So if your knife isn't particularly sharp, it'll slide off of this back part and make it harder to cut. If you just flip the pepper over and slice it this way, you'll win every time. With the broccoli, we're just gonna cut it into florets. And a lot of people cut off all this stem and they throw it in the trash. That's money in the trash, honey. This is all edible. Use it. Cut your broccoli into little trees, right? And then you can cut the stem and all into bite-sized pieces. The broccoli will have a chance to cook down a little bit because we're gonna saute these vegetables before they go into the frittata. If you're using frozen vegetables, you might want to boil them for just a minute, drain them really well, and then add them to your frittata. Let's get into our mushrooms. And I'm just going to slice these. Nothing fancy. This is a full pint of mushrooms, white button mushrooms. Notice these mushrooms have stems that are in pretty good shape. So I'm just slicing the whole mushroom up. If you do have a batch of mushrooms and the stems look a little iffy, just slice them off. You can use the caps. All right, I'm gonna take our block of cheddar here and just shred it into a nice pile. The cheese is gonna go on top of the frittata. If you mix it in, because it's not that much cheese, it kind of gets lost in the frittata, but if you put it on top, it melts and becomes a nice cheesy layer. And again, we've got some sharp cheddar, it's got some big flavor. I encourage you to use cheese that makes an impact. We're using a block of cheese today and grating it ourselves. If you go into the store and you look at the price tag, you'll find that you get a whole lot more cheese for the dollar if you just grate it yourself versus buying pre-shredded cheese. Let's go ahead and grab some of this fresh parsley so we can mince it up and use it for garnish. Just need a few sprigs. We're just gonna pull the leaves off of here. Just run your knife through it. Keep those fingers tucked under. And then kind of grab your pile, swish it around 90 degrees. And run your knife through it again. Voila, chopped parsley. We're gonna crack a dozen eggs because we're feeding everybody with this thing. If you happen to get a little eggshell in there, don't go dip it in there with your finger. You'll end up chasing that eggshell all over the bowl. Instead, use one of the sides of your cracked egg to just scoop the shell out. It sticks right to it. Okay, now that we've got our eggs in a bowl, let's just whip them up, season them with a little salt and pepper, and then set them aside. Pinch of pepper. There you go, a little dab of salt. There we go. Now we're ready to cook. Let's get our pan hot. And we're going to heat about a tablespoon of oil. Wait until that oil starts to shimmer. That way you know it's good and hot. Hot oil, hot pan. Here come the onions. Oh yeah, that's what you want to hear. That's spread out in one even layer. You want to at least give these onions a chance to get aromatic. Cook until they're translucent, even if you're not going to cook them all the way to caramelization. It's just an extra step that builds a little bit of flavor as we go. Okay, we've got some good color on these onions. Let's go ahead and get our broccoli in the pan. Give it an opportunity to cook as well. I'm going to lightly season these veg. A little pinch of pepper, a little bit of salt. And while the broccoli's cooking, let's get our mushrooms in so they can cook down. Mushrooms are like 70% water, so they need a little bit of time. I'm gonna give these mushrooms just a few minutes to cook down before I get the bell peppers in, because once the peppers are in, I don't wanna overcook them. Just kinda wanna heat them through so they can get into the frittata. So we're cooking over high heat. The idea is to really sear these vegetables so that we can enhance their flavor. But one of the things I see home cooks do that messes up the whole searing idea is you stir a lot. If you wanna get a sear on your vegetables or protein or anything that you're cooking, you've gotta leave it alone. Got a beautiful color on this broccoli. The mushrooms are cooking down, which makes room for more. Let's get the peppers in. Oh, that is gorgeous, that pop of red against the brown and green. Make pretty food, y'all. Use lots of colorful vegetables to make your food beautiful. Look at that. Okay, let's assemble our frittata. We've got our prepared pan that's been sprayed with cooking spray. I'm gonna put a little bit of this parsley into the vegetables. Save a little to go on top. Your vegetables are gonna go right into the pan. Spread them out in a nice even layer. Make sure you get all those caramelized onions in there because that's deliciousness. You don't want to leave that behind. Okay, let's get our eggs, a dozen eggs, all whisked up, poured right over the top. There we go. Alternatively, you could do this in muffin tins and make individual little omelets, which are fantastic for the kids. You can even freeze those and just pop them out, throw them in the toaster oven on those days where you're ready to go, go, go. I use English muffins to make it almost like a certain kind of breakfast sandwich, but mine are loaded with vegetables and the kids can eat them on the go. This is beautiful as it is. We're gonna make it even more so by adding our sharp cheddar. Just sprinkle it over the top so it makes a nice cheesy crust for your frittata. Make sure you get all into the corners. And then last but not least, let's put the rest of that parsley on top just for some pop of color. This baby's ready for the oven. So our oven is already preheated at 350 degrees and we're gonna bake this frittata for about 35 minutes until all the eggs are set. Look at this beauty. Gorgeous, right? So our frittata serves 8. Let's cut it up. So you can see how beautiful it looks on the plate. So let's go back to the My Plate and check all the boxes. For protein, we have our eggs. Our vegetables are the onions, the mushrooms, and the broccoli. And you're thinking, well, what about the peppers, chef? Peppers are a fruit. Gotcha. Yep, if it's got seeds on the inside, it is technically a fruit. And then we have cheese on top to check our dairy box. I think the only thing that is missing here is a grain. For my kids, I will actually pop this on a toasted English muffin or a bagel thin, and that will be a breakfast sandwich. Is that a beauty or what? Look at those layers of vegetables, that gorgeous cheese on top. This is a delicious breakfast, lunch, or dinner, all made in one pan that hits all the food groups. Enjoy.